Navya Baradi, who is currently in grade 11 at Old Scone Academic and is actively involved in speech and debate and musical theater. She loves discussing politics, poetry, all kinds of music, international affairs, and her TEDx youth talk will delve into gender stereotypes that are enforced at a young age. She hopes that by addressing the root cause of this in schools, it will motivate people to question these expectations at a very early stage in life. Please welcome Navya.
बाबल जिया मोरा घबराए बाबल जिया मोरा घबराए. I'd like to go back to this past fall on October 19th, 2016. For the United Nations International Day of the Girl Child, I had sang this song at an event organized by the Indo-Canadian Women's Association. The rough translation of the song is that of a daughter pleading to her father to not be married off to a businessman or to a jeweler. She had no interest in money or gold. She asks to be married to a blacksmith so that he can break the chains that limit her. Ladies and gentlemen, today I will be talking about the societal expectations in regards to gender norms that we place on men and women and how they act as chains, limiting us from unlocking our potential. So these stereotypes are being perpetuated by the gender inequality that is in our society, and the UN has discussed how gender inequality poses a threat to human development, and we see this most commonly in the form of a pay gap. So many try and deny the legitimacy of this issue, but the fact is that women earn merely 88 cents on every dollar that a man earns, and this number continually gets smaller and smaller for people of color. Yet despite this, people say the only reason why this disparity even exists is because women voluntarily choose different jobs than men, and this leads to a difference in income. And humoring this argument for just a moment, let's discuss why the gender occupational segregation exists in the first place. Why is it that women remain in lower paying jobs than men, despite having the same educational background and experience? Cultural expectations are ingrained into the minds of children at a very young age and further play a role in our decision-making processes growing up. Personally, I've been fortunate that my family never treated me as lesser for being a daughter instead of a son, and I was never really discriminated against for being a girl. But I've also been acutely aware of the gender inequality that manifests itself into these norms at such a young age. What do I mean by these societal expectations and norms and things like that? Well, going back to kindergarten, I remember my teacher telling me to play carefully, to not roll around in the sand or to climb trees or fences because I might get my dress dirty. I also remember hearing the boys who cried or expressed any emotion being called weak and girly as if it were an insult. The nonchalant comments of telling boys to man up and doing anything like a girl to be used as an insult echo through the hallways of every school and quickly add up to a dangerous combination of societal expectations that limit us from being who we want to be and going where we want to go. By telling boys that their emotions are a weakness that must be hidden, we devalue the mental health of men and limit the likeliness of them ever seeking help. By telling girls that their appearance is more important than their passion, we demean the intelligence and capabilities of women. By perpetuating this heteronormative ideology, we marginalize and disregard the struggles of those who don't conform to what has been deemed the societal norm. In Canada, we are far behind the progress that other nations have made in regards to the gender gap. And amongst the provinces, Alberta falls last. But this can be improved, and there is a pathway for change and progress. It is a matter of us doing it or not. In 1970, the Royal Commission on the Status of Women had proposed the idea of a national child care system to ensure that women aren't dropping out of the workforce to take care of domestic and household affairs. 47 years later, little to no progress has been made on the establishment of one, arguably because childcare is still being seen as a woman's responsibility and not a societal responsibility. But on a smaller scale, for parents now, it is important to encourage every child to do what interests them and pursue their passions regardless of the chains and links attached about predominantly female versus male industries. And as students, it is our responsibility to not accept these gender-biased messages that are being sent through common phrases and mass media. It is time to question why it is that we associate nurse with woman and construction worker with man. I encourage all of you to research as many different career pathways as possible without the gender bias as a part of the decision-making process. I encourage all of you to think twice the next time we use a phrase like man up or stop doing that like a girl. I also encourage you to start complimenting people, and women in particular, about things that aren't related to the physical appearance. Breaking down stigma seems like a daunting task, but the antidote to ignorance is active education, which begins with questioning the underlying gender bias in so many everyday situations. To close the gender gap would mean to finally open our eyes to the systematic inequities that exist between men and women. Ladies and gentlemen, gender equality is going to make it possible for the first time for men and women to be free from these chains equally.